J360 TV.
Oh, man. What do you call it? What do you call it, man? It just is interesting how we've managed to get to this point. It gets you thinking after a while, like, are we winning this or are we coming in second? Because I just... Or are we even in the ranking anymore? I mean... It does not surprise me what the hell comes out of Washington, D.C. these days. Let's just put it that way. But you know what? I will tell you what's surprising is the fact that we made it to Season 10. So, welcome to the J-Man Show here on
J360 Radio!
I gotta say, even as I become an old man, I'm still gonna be able to do that. Yes. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to J360 Productions, or if you're tuning in on J360 TV or J360 Radio, I'm J-Man, of course, and it is awesome to be back here on the show that started it all, my show, the J-Man Show, for Season 10, damn it! Oh yeah, we here. And don't let it kid you here. Just because it's the 10th season and we're moving into another medium doesn't mean I'm not going to talk about what the hell's going on in my country. You know, it's funny. I've been doing this for quite some time, and people tend to say, like, I don't care about the country, I don't care about this or that and stuff. It's like, you can think that. You're allowed to think that. But you'd be wrong. I do care. That's why I talk about it. But like I said, at one time when I was going about this stuff, I wasn't even going to dive into it, man. I mean, like, I covered 4 years of Trump the first time. I didn't want to cover him a second or a third time, but here we are, huh? I mean, it's kind of like when you don't expect, like, Call of Duty to finally hit a wall again, and now it's painfully obvious. But that happened. Have you guys even looked at Black Ops 7? I really knew that there was a Call of Duty coming, but I did not think that it was going to be, I didn't think it was going to be that relevant, and the same way, I didn't think it was going to be that bad. And you see, the thing about it is, I saw a whole bunch of people in front of GameStop not too long ago, and you know what? The thing about it is, I was like, wow, wait a minute, that's for Black Ops 7? I thought they were homeless. No, for real, I did. Cause, see, a long time ago, like, all those midnight launches and all of those, moments where, like, the game was coming and people pre-ordered it, and it used to be fantastic. It used to be like an event. You had to be there for those things, Different experiences, different presentations. It was just an all-around experience. And while it was neat to see that, you could see, like, the decay about everything, because, one, it wasn't nearly as big, and those people were sitting out there with all sorts of things. It looked like the Caravan of Freedom, and I thought they were, like, building a, pretty much building, like, a tent city out there in front of GameStop. And considering the way things are looking and how, like, a lot of these plazas have been undercared for, I wasn't too far off. But that being said, though, treat people kindly and make sure you get to the bottom of everything before all that stuff. But when I found out that it was Black Ops 7 coming out, I was like, wow. Already, huh? Because, I mean, Black Ops 6 wasn't... Oh, who am I kidding? This is Activision. Activision, as soon as they get, like, a hit on their hands, they're going to forget about it in, like, the next year to come. That's just on brand for them, but... Yeah, Black Ops 7, and everybody hates it, apparently. The word on the street is that nobody cared for this. In a mixture of bad writing, over AI use, and whatever the hell that final boss was, with the giant face and the giant character and everything. And I was like, well, there it is, y'all. The pretty much the epicenter of Call of Duty Black Ops. when you think about it, like playing back over those first 3 games was pretty cool. The 4th game was more or less a multiplayer sim. 5th game was, I think Cold War was okay. And then like when you also look into Black Ops 6, I was ready to come back to the franchise because of Black Ops 6. Because I was like, okay, cool. Because see, I have enough storage for it. Another thing that kept me from playing Call of Duty for quite some time was the time to put into it, in addition to where to store the thing. And I was actually going to go ahead and use that as like my first PC game. You know what I'm saying? Oh, J-Man got Steam, y'all. You know, with the way things are going and stuff, you might as well have it. But I was sitting there looking at this, and I was like, nah, this ain't for me. Skip it this time, fam. Matter of fact, I went over to get Sonic Racing Cross Worlds instead of looking into Call of Duty. And that's fine. Just like one way or another. It's one of those kind of things where AAA gaming has gotten either too big or too lazy, and it's eating itself. You know? It's kind of like a lot of people, if they're not mad at that, they're mad at, well, shoot, what are people not mad at these days? But we're talking about in terms of gaming, like if they're not mad at Black Ops 7, they're mad at the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. And if they're not mad at that, they're mad at Metroid Prime 4. Then they're mad at, basically AAA gaming as a whole, and not to mention the cost of things now. Yes, living in the United States is getting really, really cumbersome. Like, it was always a mixed reaction, but it is getting to the point now where, they don't know what the hell they're doing, and they're letting you know it. They're not shying away from the ideas of stuff. And even then, this is business trade here. So it makes you wonder about the tariffs they're putting on this kind of stuff. Like, what exactly is this whole implementation from the Trump administration supposed to do? And even then, I say administration lightly because we all know it ain't one. This is just ridiculousness. You know what I'm saying? Could you imagine if we actually had competent leaders again? Could you imagine if we actually had competent civil servants again? Not everybody for self-interest and all this other kind of stuff, but I mean actually doing good for people with the most minimal amount of harm, Now it's just basically abuse. It's always some sort of abuse coming out of hierarchy of things. And they talk about small government, but they have all these other implements and all these people trying to bully and strong arm and trying to strong arm people left and right. And you think that's the answer? You think that's the solution to the problem and that's really going to help people? Wow, you live in a daydream, man. See, the thing about it is, a lot of people try to say, well, Biden wasn't. He's not the president no more. Well, Obama didn't. Well, he's not the president anymore either. And the idea is, even when they were around, I wasn't sitting out there like, they're going to give me something. They're going to make things happen for me. It's like, no, they're just going to implement policy and try to keep the union together, which is exactly what the hell the legislative and the executive and pretty much the judicial branches, the 3 branches, are supposed to do, and have checks and balances with each other. Uphold the Constitution, which is what they're supposed to friggin' do. You know what I'm saying? It's not about me liking them and saying they're going to make all these big changes for my life. No. They're going to make changes, but make it make sense. And at the end of the day, it's gotten so bad. You got people, you got people even going back to the old country, for one. And you also got people who live here in this country sitting there saying, what is it? They're talking about what other world leaders do, or they're talking about what was the whole thing that a friend of mine was talking to me about? It taught me about Vladimir Lenin and the Russian Revolution. I was like, I know about the Russian Revolution, but the only reason why you're praising it is because you never experienced it, motherfucker. If you experienced a revolution of any kind, you will realize something. There's real war, and then there's true war. Okay? The whole thing about honor and everything sounds good, doesn't it? But then there's what really happened with the pillaging, friendly fire, and all sorts of other crazy stuff in history that will never be read in a book. Because as far as you're concerned, they probably killed the person that was writing the book, or whatever. And among other things, it's like a revolution is war. That's pretty much what it is. And if you think about it, it's like, once again, we're all talking about these things, but we in a crisis right now because either nobody wants to be responsible for things, or like, some people don't want to work, and you're seeing those that are in positions of power, they want to be as comfortable as can be. And like when you look at like what was going on with the government shutdown and who's blaming who and stuff like that, at the end of the day, you'll realize when your government acts like a bunch of children, like really, really young children that are pointing fingers at each other and stuff like that. And you got to be the adult in the room so that you make sure that you're safe and you're taken care of, regardless if your mental health is declining or improving or whatever the case may be. It really makes you think about the status of things. And it's pretty damn scary how we got to this point. Like, at the end of the day, I already don't trust people anyway. And you have found a way to continue the race to the bottom. Matter of fact, we done broke ground a long time ago. We're going past. Right, I like to say, if you look at the earth one way or another, we are not just hard in the paint. We deep in the crust. I think we're about to hit the core soon enough. Because it's getting to the point where it's like incompetence upon incompetence, and it's weighing us down. And then not to mention all the racist rhetoric going on, what with Doge and what with ICE and all that kind of stuff. ICE is only supposed to regulate immigration. Now they're on the same level, if not more so, than a lot of the law enforcement agencies that are around us. I mean, you only had to deal with a certain amount of them. Now you got all this extra shit going on. And it's just goon squatting. Like, if anybody ever really looked at, I would say this. I watch anime, and a lot of you J360 fans out there know I do, in addition to those of you out there who do watch anime. But with the way things are going, it kind of reminds me of Zeta Gundam right now, with how the Titans were in Zeta Gundam. Yeah, their whole thing was to regulate and make sure like things were in structure and order, but they turned out to be a corrupted force pretty much, and they did whatever the hell they wanted to do, in addition to being sociopaths and everything. I would tell you how that all ended out. It didn't end well for them, but the idea is it got to the point where almost everybody was mad and annoyed enough. And when you think about it, these are people that are not vetted enough, or people that know the rules of what they're not supposed to do, and they don't care. It's like kind of like when you think about it, they're recruiting people off the street to be in that group. Whether it be like, because of $50,000 student loan forgiveness, which is really laughable, because for the longest time, we couldn't even get $20,000 for student loan forgiveness. But now you got this, pretty much this secret police force here. Not so secret, but secret. And you're telling them that their whole thing can be waived for $50,000. Whereas, like, me, who doesn't want to be a part of that kind of crap, can't even get $20,000 for his student loans. Make it make sense. Or here's another thing. How come this whole leadership here is so hell-bent on replacing things, getting rid of things, but they don't have an actual plan in mind of where people to go? You know what I mean? Like, say like you mess with public education, right? Okay, so what exactly is supposed to happen to the kids? Where are the kids going to learn things now? I mean, you're already messing with food, Where exactly are the kids supposed to go? To learn, to become a part of this society one way or another. That's what education is supposed to be about. You're supposed to learn how to function in the society. But then again, you got a person in a position of power who can barely friggin' read and understand all this other stuff. Just blowharding and yelling, and if it ain't his way or no way and all that kind of stuff. That is so stupid. That right there is what holds up progress. And you see, the thing about it is, it ain't just him. It's the people that think like him. It's the people that, could be at the highest of the top that think like him. And then the people that are where you and I are who think like that. And it's very stupid. You know that this person is not going to be any benefit to you no matter what you do. But you got to go ahead. You got to deal with it because of certain situations that don't make any sense. And that's really terrible. Because like what I look at is like, okay, a lot of our institutions out here can always be improved. And yes, they can. But once again, where is the solution? Where is, like, whether, even if you had a short-term plan, you would have a place, something set up as you get rid of something. You don't just get rid of something and then that's it. It's like, okay, I can use me for an example again. Like for J360 Productions, okay? Remember, like, when Spreaker was falling apart? A lot of y'all know this, but if you don't, I'll tell you. We started on SoundCloud, then we went to Spreaker because Spreaker pretty much had radio set up. And when we did the radio setup on Spreaker, it was enjoyable. It was a great 4 years. But by the time the 5th year came along, iHeartRadio came in and they bought Voxnest, which Voxnest owned Spreaker at the time. So instead of them keeping and maintaining it, they started looking at things from top to bottom and figuring out what to phase out. They figured, hey, you know, even though these are the days of live streaming, we don't want to have a live streaming capability no more. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of the live stream capability, but you can still use your recording and putting up all of the, episodes as, like, you know, how they record podcasts and all. And I'm sitting there like this. Well, here's the thing. That should be implemented in the year you want to implement it. But let's just be perfectly honest here. I am paying for this year, and I am using all the bells and whistles that I fucking paid for. So as I'm paying for this, I want services rendered, and I'm going to broadcast live. These idiots would send me messages like, we're trying to phase out the live production form. Could you not use the live? And I said, could you piss off? Kindly. Mind you, I do it with class. But let me just tell you this. If I'm paying good money for this, I'm not the product, and you don't get to tell me what the hell to do. Okay? See, it's different when you're on Facebook and all these other social media networks, because if you're not paying for things, you're the product. And they are, well, willfully letting you know that. More on that later in the show. But like anything else, if they didn't want to play ball with me, and I didn't want to play ball with them, this was going to be the last year, so I had to figure something out. So I went ahead and took the shows, and I moved them to another outlet, which is Red Circle. And then at the same time, for the live, I went over to another radio station, which was Mixler. I had a plan to go to different things, and I had to also make that understanding that I had to rebuild my audience up again, which is where we're kind of are now. Because, you know, I figured, hey, guess what? I want to do videos again. So let's go on ahead and do YouTube right now. And then, you know, later on, other opportunities, things like that. Either way, I'm not settled, and things are always in a path of movement. But I always had a plan of where to go at. That was the idea. You know, at the risk or whatever. Because you're always going to have risk. I don't care what it is. You're always going to have risk. You're always going to have, like, where things take and then where things don't take. And it's just the way of life, you know? So I want to let you all know that. It's like, you know, do the best good you can, but with the most minimal amount of harm. And what was the harm was we had to move. But we did a lot of good because we had to move someplace where we're able to continue the show's productions. See what I'm saying? But real leadership is having a solution in mind for every time you make a change. And organizational change is never easy. Structural change, never easy. Because you got people so used to the old ways, or you got people who are on the verge of retirement that do not want anything new. And that's where your adaptability and your flexibility comes in play so that you're able to deal with that sort of scenario. All right? Now I went through that. These people, on the other hand, in position to power, coming from usually rich backgrounds, have no idea of this stuff. And they let you know this. Like, every damn time I see that blonde woman on the press secretary show up and saying what she needs to say, and I realize she has no damn idea what she's talking about, much in the same way of listening to Megyn Kelly try and explain what woke is. You have no idea about that stuff. And by the way, as we talk about woke, were there people that took advantage of the idea of woke? Yes. Were there people out there who basically thought anything with a person of color or a female lead is woke? Yes. But see, the thing about it is, woke means awareness. If you're not aware and if you're not paying attention to this stuff, they'll love you because they already know they don't have anything coming out of you. And they know that you done sold out your voice. You don't, you know what I mean? Unless something really benefits or hurts you, you ain't going to be there. So that's why they love you. because there is no sign of any sort of retaliation at all. I'm letting you know that. So like when you compromise and you give up your voice and all that kind of stuff, whether it be a tactic or not, and tactics are good, so be strategic about things. But it's like after a while you'll realize the more you stay quiet, the more they're gonna make sure they tighten that muzzle on you. Think about it. But going back into what I was saying though, if you are in a position of leadership, yes, you will have to make changes, you will have to make ideas, you will have to make things happen, but you got to make sure you give us a resolution, whether it be temporary or whether it be long term, whatever the case may be. And you're seeing all these half-baked plans come into play. Like, and then instead of them owning up to it and being honest, of course they're going to lie to you. You know what I mean? For one, it's not just him, okay? It's the whole cabaret of liars up in there. Of all things in the future, I didn't think things would be cheap. I didn't think things would be ridiculously bad. I didn't think the apathy would be an all-time high. I didn't think I would see a whole group of white people come together and not get anything done in another 4-year span of things. But then again, this guy has already proven that he is not going to try to honor elections like anything. He wouldn't be in there forever. Like I don't know if he's building a ballroom or if he's building like a dedication room for him to be in, because some people are just trying to be president for life. And you're seeing it right in front of you, but you don't want to honor that thing. You don't want to be like, call it for what it is. And I've noticed that about a lot of people too. Don't want to call it for what it is, even when like certain things happen on January 6th. You didn't want to call that for what it was. Domestic terrorism. And this country is the only one with that problem. Any other country, though, would be like, they would go ahead, hard stop on that stuff. So it's just wild, man. You know what I mean? But dare I say it, but Caucasians have been on mode reset ever since Obama got in office. So and now it's like to the point where it's like spiking up. And, it's like one way or another. You're fighting for democracy, where at the end of the day, everybody has a voice and disagreements are apparent, or are you fighting for that one rule all kind of flavor, which I'm not going to say it on this show because you already know what it is. But if you're fighting for that, then guess what? We're not friends at all. That's where the enemy comes into play. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to like me. You don't even have to be a part of the system of what I'm doing. And that's okay. But you see, the thing about it is, you have a problem when I don't agree with you. You know what I'm saying? It's wild. And now they want to go ahead and try to take people's voices away from them, all this other kind of stuff. Even as I'm doing this, it might be at risk, but I don't give a damn. I'm damn near 40. I don't care. Yeah, about that. Yeah. So, it's just like anything. Well, hell, looking back on it, even in my 20s, I didn't give a shit. Which is funny, though, because even as you see like a lot of this stuff going on, not just from your government, but you're seeing it from the brands you love. The brands you love are so sold in on AI. Like, artificial intelligence could be a big help in some cases. Not the way we're using it for. And everybody's talking about intentions. Well, the pathway to hell is lined with the best intentions. And you're seeing it. Like, more or less, like, content creating in general. And then not to mention, like, people are not developing critical thinking skills because, hey, why should we? We don't have to think hard. We don't have to be very perceptive in our thinking and awake about things. No, we don't have to be woke at all because, hey, Gemini, Copilot, Sora, and all the rest of them, and ChatGPT will take care of all of that. I mean, yeah, you ain't got to worry about people seeing you as a damn moron now that you got ChatGPT doing the talking for you. That's scary. Doing the talking and the writing for you. See, I can't agree with that. ChatGPT is a tool just like Gemini is a tool, just like Copilot is a tool. Use it when you need it maybe, but don't use it all the time. And it's pretty much the new drug. They're pushing this crap on everybody and everything. And you're sitting there for a little bit and you're like, oh, this is so gross. Like, I was in one of my God, I was at a seminar not too long ago, and they were all talking about how good this is, and I'm sitting there thinking about, yeah, but what if you don't have access to it at that time? What if you don't want to use your phone? What if you don't want to use your tablet? Or, if you really want to actually have a legitimate conversation without worrying about whether people understand you or not? You know what I'm saying? Like, what about being human and actually enjoying life, being in the moment? Like, there are ways of doing things, and at the end of the day, I think we kind of missed it because we're so enthralled by this stuff. It's kind of like when the smartphone did come into our lives, it did make productivity easier, and then when coding came around, like, that was fine. I haven't seen a coder in days. Like, I looked over at some of the people in the IT department, and I was like, well, hey, look, have you been coding still? Have you been doing? And the person looked at me and said, well, no, because AI is taking a lot of it from me, so I don't necessarily have to code anymore. And I was like, oh, that's scary. See, you bent your knee to the machine instead of having the machine work with you. You don't dull your own skills just because things are quick and easy. You know what I'm saying? Like, AI pretty much is the fast food of content creation. Like, I see it all over the place. Like, some of those true scary story videos or urban legend videos because people don't know how to, actually create and be scary anymore. So they decide to get, like, a prompt going so that they can do this. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, wow, there's nothing fun about this. Like, if you use it to create your monster, that's fine because AI is a monster in itself. But the idea is just like, where we have gotten with this and all the pushing, all these tech bros and all this other kind of stuff, because they hit a wall not too long ago. If you think about it, before AI came into our lives, these dudes peaked. All right? And I'm including Musk in that and everybody else. They did not know what to do next. Like, Apple was in the hives for the longest time. I mean, do we give them another unibody MacBook? What about Apple Pencil? Yeah, Apple Pencil, yeah. And turn it into Apple Pencil Pro. That'll help. Like, and then they had it priced at a ridiculous range that nobody, unless they were an executive sorts or they were bringing in that amount of money, like six figures on up, they could buy that. You know what I'm saying? It's the most weirdest thing when it comes to they make this stuff, or China makes this stuff, let's just be for real. They make this stuff and then they resell it to us, and then that's supposed to be the cheapest version of the price. And you're like, wow, that's stupid. But then AI came into our lives, and more technology that is tracking you and possibly tracking me and going out there for everybody to see because all of our business is profitable. They don't know how to give an inch because they don't want to. And see, the thing about AI is an AI will only do what you tell it. Like, computers will only do what you tell them to do. They'll add on to things automatically, but you need to tell it to subtract things. And when you tell it to subtract things and stuff, well, hey, guess what? That's why the delete button is a delete button. But the thing about the delete button, it is a command that you give it, because it ain't going to do it on its own. Which is like when people put posters and pictures of themselves in compromised positions and everything, it'll be there forever. And people of all varying backgrounds that jump into content creating are still having a hard time figuring this out. They amass a hell of a lot of views via botting or whatever the technique is, but they still have a hard time figuring out how the internet works. Isn't that sad? Yeah. It gets sadder. Because now as this stuff starts becoming the norm, it's like everybody's so soaked in and becoming a part of the Borg life, whereas I'm just sitting there like, I'll use it when I need it, but I'm not going to dive into it. I'm not going to give it all of my business. Like, it's nice if it gives you a strategy and a plan, or you write up a strategy and stuff like that, and it can tell how to reformulate that plan. But at the end of the day, when you have it doing all the work for you, something is amiss. And if you feel as though, like, you can't, like, you're not literate, like, if you don't have media literacy, if you don't have, like, the ability to comprehend things, and if you're not speaking for yourself anymore, something is friggin' wrong. And they are happily profiting off of it. Much like profiting off of your loneliness and all this other kind of stuff that's going on around here. One way or another, the greater good has been shafted for profits. And it's really sad, too, because there are ways to make money and doing good for people. You know? And see, one way or another, all these people, they just want attention. Or they want to go ahead and dismantle something and then bring it back and say that they have actually solved the problem, which they did not solve a problem. You know, I could go ahead and dive into healthcare, too. I mean, we've always had a weird relationship with healthcare, and universal healthcare is not impossible. It can be done. But once again, when you tell people a certain thing and you're highly influential and you're yelling all that nonsense out there to purposely misinform people and give them that whole disinformation pie and stuff, that says a lot about you. Misinformation travels a hell of a lot faster than good, real information does. Just like, one way or another, how like a lot of people can't afford a lot of these technological devices, but they're over here pushing all that stuff on you. When at the same time, say like if you live in a rural area and you really don't have Wi-Fi, but you need access to Wi-Fi, they look at you like, oh, why the hell would you need that? Buy this peripheral right here. That'll help you. And then they can lock you into a monthly plan so they can go ahead and charge that stuff over on you because, hey, why not use software as a service, right? It's making me a hell of a lot more money, and you're going to have to buy an addition for that stuff to actually work for you. Instead of you actually having that access for free, which a lot of people should be able to access the internet because, again, we're in that Web 2.0 and Web 3.0 kind of atmosphere. All business is done on the internet. And then not to mention all that push for AI that's taking people's jobs away. I mean, Musk is over there happy about it. But at the end of the damn day, because I don't care for him and I never will kiss his ass, I always look at it like this. How are people supposed to pay their bills if you're taking away their jobs? And AI is only a peripheral. It's not the person. You know what I mean? And just like how they're trying to curb elections and stuff like that, you need people to vote. It's to a point where things are stupid. And like when you look at a lot of the stuff that interacts on YouTube or any of these social media networks, they're bots. Like look at the names, look at the titles and stuff. They're not real people. They're bots. What a sham. What a sham in the 21st century. And the thing is, we could make it better, but we choose not to. And making it worse is only festering the wound. Because there's a terrible riff in everything right now, and it's festering and it's getting worse. It's in all aspects of our media now. And then not to mention another thing, the 1% is over here trying to buy Warner Brothers and all because, well, the people in charge of Warner Brothers did not know what they had. So instead of trying to make the company smaller and more effective, they decided to go ahead and throw in the towel. Ruined it. The whole legacy of Warner Brothers is up for sale. And of course, Paramount, after that big deal with Skydance, in which you need to really think about the two people that run Paramount and Skydance now, are trying to go over there and get Warner Brothers and have all of it under one roof. And I saw some of y'all say the cutest stuff when it comes to this. I mean, Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon under one roof. Cartoon Network hasn't been in business for quite some time, you idiots. They closed the studio. What are you talking about? I mean, they did that and they cut off Boomerang and all that other stuff. Like, any of the things that we enjoyed for Cartoon Network are gone. Nickelodeon is there, but, because of some of the Nickelodeon stuff that's coming out, some of it's okay, but a lot of it is a far cry from what happened in the 90s. That's why they always bank on the 90s for us to be roped in on those kind of things. And that's room for another episode. But let me just tell you this, though. A merger isn't about you or me or our satisfaction at all. To hell with that. A merger is about who's going to make the most profits under one library, and because they don't have to worry about anybody that's just as big or close as big as them, they are going to charge you whatever the hell they want, and they already don't want you to own any kind of media. Haven't you noticed? I mean, why the hell should I have you be independent when I could just go ahead and make profits off of you because you like these old shows and everything? It is amazing. And granted, you'll be looking at some of this stuff and say, well, does it say that in terms of services? It doesn't say that in any of the... It's not going to. Read between the lines. Okay? You know, think about why we had TiVos and, well, for some of y'all that are younger, think about why we have the ability to record things. Why we have the ability to go ahead and use what we have. We have those things because guess what? If you let them have all the control over things that they show you, broadcast to you, and all that kind of stuff, they got you in the pocket. Whereas with our ability to do these things, we have ability to protect ourselves and know what's going on and know exactly how to recite history back to these people because they're trying to change everything. Like, you know, like even with education and stuff like that, they're trying to ruin that for all of us. You know, education, much like the military, is one of those options that people in like terrible neighborhoods or wherever, that was their way of getting out of those neighborhoods. And they're trying to take away opportunities from everybody, especially people of color. It's really something to pay attention to. Like I said before, I didn't want to deal with too much Trump stuff, but let me tell you this, I'm going to have to, because, well, for obvious reasons. But the thing is, you're messing with our media, you're messing with our education, you're trying to pretty much violate our healthcare again, and a bunch of other things in addition to, like, well, hey, you know, socialism is evil. No. Totalitarianism is evil. Socialism is not. Socialism at best is misunderstood as hell, and it's to the point where you wonder what exactly we're all arguing about here. See, the thing about socialism is, yes, we can all be billionaires, but nobody should be poor. Okay? And socialism is a part of capitalism, which is a part of the mixed economy that this damn country is founded upon, and what exactly we do. Okay? Outside of everything else. And if I have to make a full episode about that, I will be waiting until the most boring time of the year to get you for it. Oh, yes. I got you right where I want you, people. But it's like one of them kind of ideas that you think about. You got to pay attention to what's going on. And no, none of the way these big businesses are playing ball right now are for our benefit. And the same goes for, you know, well, shoot, you've seen Xbox lately, haven't you? It's wild, isn't it? You know? Or what is another one that's going on in the news right now? There's another big monopoly that's popping up in front of us, but there's a reason why the Sherman Antitrust Act happened. It has been weakened significantly, but there was a reason why that existed. Freedom of choice, man, and to make sure like trade is conducted fairly. And see, the thing about it is people don't want to do any sort of fair conduction on these things. And it's really, really sad. Oh, hey, by the way, I hate to go back to another segment, but I'm going to. I mean, I got that kind of a talk. You know, I used to know a person who went on this whole thing saying that AI was cheaper for him and stuff. And I thought this, you know, you have to pay for AI. Usually, like you have to pay for the pro package and all the bells and whistles as a subscription service. Like you don't own it. And not to mention, he was sitting there saying, well, for me to do like all the effects in my music videos, I have to pay for like $2,000, blah, 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 blah. Just numbers out of a hat. I don't know where the hell he shopped at, but for me to use some of the pre-gen stuff that I used at one time, I paid $80. I paid $80 for it. So I'm like, what the fuck are you lying to? Oh my god. Hey, pardon my French, by the way, but yeah, you know, it's uncut series, baby. Like, you just gonna have to deal with it. But I was like, yeah, who the hell are you lying to, man? Cut the bullshit out. That's stupid. Yeah, but, oh, by the way, I'll probably dive into that at another time again, but I have never forgotten some of the dumbest things people say to me. It's kind of like when people try to tell me that they're busy. You know, like when people who are musicians try to tell me they're busy. You're telling me of all people, you're busy. Not nearly as busy as me, motherfucker. Simple as that. Sheesh. I could go all day with that. I just think it's hilarious when people do this crap. They act like they got a real estate on busy. Act like they got a real estate. Like I know a guy who works in retail who always talks about like, I work at my job every day, and I'm like, yeah, so do I, you idiot. That's a, you know, it's like, no kidding. And I feel for those who don't have a job. Like I said, I'm not gonna razz you about your job or anything. But the thing about it is that, you know, a lot of y'all act like, this is my big boon to America. This is amazing. It's good to have pride in what you do, but don't act like this is the last bastion of mankind. Give it a rest. You know? Ah, damn. like even with my day job, you know, I love it, but at the same time, it's like you don't see me running around flexing on people with it. And believe it or not, I always look for the next promotion and stuff like that. You know? It's just like after a while, like when you think about it, or like I remember somebody was stocking sodas and all that stuff, had all that stuff laid out there, and was going through it trying to get the display made. I looked at that and I said, I don't miss that. I know, man. I know what that is. But hey, among other things, you know, and it's just wild to me how things are going and how people are acting. But let me tell you this. We need to show a little bit more care and concern to each other, and we need to quit being apathetic about every friggin' thing. I've noticed this, though. A lot of it's cope. A lot of it's just, you know, everybody's got something to say, and then everybody's always uptight about this, complaining about that, instead of just, you know, all right, look, if the one plan didn't work out, there's always another plan. If your government is not doing that, then you have to step up for your own safety and your own sake. Pay attention to the news. But don't get to the point where you cannot function. Keep looking to make your lifestyle better. And don't depend on streaming, content creation, and all that kind of stuff. It's good the idea of making money. I mean, like, I like the idea of making money. I mean, I like the idea of donations. I like the idea of ways to thrive and all. But you got to be smart. And you got to be thankful that you're able to create it, but you got to also be thinking like different ways of how you can work with the public at the same time the public can work with you. That is that's my strategy for a lot of this kind of stuff. Because some of y'all are not at that level where you could go ahead and you could, you know, like some of y'all are not at that level of investing anymore. Some of you are not at that level where you can spend your money crazily. And you know what I mean by that, right? The holidays are coming. How you know, right now you got to think about exactly how you're going to go about with the holidays this year. Because I know some of y'all are like, well, don't shop at big boxes. Go to thrift stores. Go to places that really matter. And it's like, yeah, that's good. Do that if it works for you. And then, you know, at the same time, go to your food pantries. Make sure you have essentials. And then, like, as we go into, like, 2026 and 2027, don't let it overwhelm you. You got to be thinking strategically. All right? So, I mean, and I'm saying that to those of you guys. Some of y'all got hope. Some of y'all got the help, and you want to keep that. That's what you should keep. But, you know, how we go through everything else, we're all going to have to go through it together. But until then, I got to get on out of here, though. So I want you all to take care of yourselves. We got jams happening tomorrow at 8. And yes, I will be on time for that one. So this is J-Man signing off. Take care of yourselves. Peace.